And granted, the younger you get in the conservative movement, the less pro-Israel you are. Yeah. The older you are, the more pro-Israel you are. But albeit still, there is a pro-Israel bloc within the conservative movement that is quite strong.
Okay, so, right. The thing that I'd say in response to that, now, I don't got like the exact study name or survey name on the tip of my fingers, but I had read that, right, between younger evangelical Christians, right, support went down from like 75.
That's correct.
To like,
I just granted you that.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So you would say that for your theology, though, that it is biblical to support them.
Well, I mean, Genesis 12:3, it says, I will bless those who bless you. In the book of Numbers, it says the same. Paul says, bless the Jews as they are the keepers of the law. I mean, all throughout biblical prophecy, we talk about supporting the nation of Israel. So yes, absolutely.
So I would say I have like a couple problems with that.
Again, I don't want to do too much theological stuff because people are going to get bored. So why don't you make one final point and then we'll get to the next question.
Okay, I'll make one final point, which is like people think that Israel, right, the state of Israel is reserved for like the Israelites specifically, and that it's their land and stuff like that. Would you agree with that?
Yes, the reconstitution of the state of Israel is fulfillment of biblical prophecy for the Jewish people.
Okay, so here's where the disagreement with me lies. Is there's stuff in Leviticus that talks about the land that Israel inhabits, right? It's God's land. It's not for the Israelites, right? It's God's land at the end of the day.
Of course, yes, but God has leased it out to the nation of Israel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when they get kicked out, whether it's by the Assyrians, these people, that people,
or the Romans in AD 70.
Exactly, right? That is acceptable because that was what God had.
But
right?
then here's our response. We'll close with this. Yeah. There is specific biblical prophecy that said after the scattering, I will bring you back together. Right? That's what we believe was the fulfillment of that prophecy. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, I will throw some hats out in a second. Disagreements, guys, can work to the front of the line. Yep, go ahead.
All right, afternoon, Charlie. I want to start off by saying I think November's mandate is large in part due to your work and the great voters of Michigan. And so my question has to do with government spending. Doge has found like $300 trillion in fraud and waste that they're to eliminate. And the new tariffs are supposed to bring in $2 billion a day. So by that math, it would take over 50 years to balance our current deficit of $37 trillion. So my question is, what else is being done?
Yeah, so there's debts and deficit. Our deficit's about $1.8 trillion. Our debt is 37. So they're two distinct things. So a deficit is your annual burn. Our debt is our total cumulative debt burden.
So what other things are being done to kind of
we need to dramatically cut spending, which the one thing I will push back a little bit of what this administration is doing, I don't think we need to increase defense spending. I don't. I think we need to cut in the Pentagon. I was going to mention that, yeah. No, I do. I think that we need to cut a lot of foreign aid. We need to cut defense spending. And the most unpopular thing is I think we need to take a real look at Medicare and Medicaid fraud. People get really mad when I talk about that. There is so much fraud when it comes to Medicare and Medicaid. The biggest thing is this. You guys are going to inherit a bankrupt country unless we make severe and significant spending cuts and get closer towards a balanced budget. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
My last thing. Yeah. My lovely lady wants a red hat.
Okay, you got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
All right, here we go.
Hello, Mr. Kirk. I came a long way to see you. Well, I go to school here, but I'm from Texas.
So you walked across the campus?
Pretty much. So, I have a definition for you, and then I'll go from there. So, fascism, as described, is a political system based on a very powerful leader, state control, and being extremely proud of the country and race, in which political opposition is not allowed. Now, I am not saying Trump is inherently fascist and the administration is fascist. But what I've been seeing is the introductory steps to fascism. He's tried to make the executive branch more a controlling power and even trying to test the judicial limits that he appointed. The chief judge had to tell him to rein it in, and he's the one that was appointed by Trump. His own judges are saying, you need to stop this. He's consistently been going against American values that have been in place for hundreds of years and trying to reimagine how the American government should be. How do you feel about that?
No, I mean, I think it's preposterous. I mean, Donald Trump is not a fascist. Let me ask you a question. Do fascists protect freedom of speech?
No, and he hasn't.
Well, hold on. No, he actually has, to such a great extent where he says colleges are not getting money if they don't protect freedom of speech. He's defunding colleges if they don't protect freedom of speech. In fact, Donald Trump has gone out of his way to make sure that all Americans have the freedom of speech. All U.S. citizens do. And so an attribute of fascism is also basically quashing political dissent, as you would say, right? Which political party tried to put the opposition leader in prison for 700 years? Was it Donald Trump or Joe Biden that tried to put his rival in jail for 700 years?
Joe Biden. But I
Yeah,
have a
so
rebuttal
would
to
Joe
that.
Biden be a fascist then?
No.
But you just said that's a hallmark definition of fascism, quelching political opposition. I will go a step further. Wasn't the Democrat Party acting fascistic by indicting Donald Trump on all these charges the first time in American history to basically eliminate the MAGA movement?
It wasn't to eliminate the MAGA movement, it was to get to man. Because Trump himself was doing very shady things. He was having hush money trials, which is true. He's a convicted felon. He tried to keep documents.
Well, he's also your president, so you have to say that as well.
Yes, he is my president.
Okay, good. I mean, again, this whole convicted felon thing is like so preposterous and so ridiculous. But again, your definition of fascism is, as you read it, not just so narrow. Donald Trump is the opposite of that. Do fascists want people to own more guns or less guns?
Less guns.
Yeah, so why would Donald Trump now make it easier for people to own guns then?
But that's not the point.
Well, it is a
Not
point.
everything. That's why I said Trump is not a fascist himself, and this is not a fascist
but it's
administration
just-
yet. There are certain aspects that he's doing that is fascist. He's trying to
It's
make the
just-
centralized power in the executive branch to control everything that's around him.
It's called the
He has a bunch
unitary
of yes men.
executive theory is not fascistic. Again, just looking around every corner and acting like that's fascist, that fascist. It's so destructive to our discourse because he's the opposite of such a fascist.
That's why I haven't said he's a fascist.
No, I understand.
haven't
I know what you're saying.
explained anything.
I would not look at a single thing he's done that is even close to fascistic. It's nationalistic.
Which
it's
is a definition of fascism.
Not necessarily. You could be a
It's an
nationalist
aspect of
communist.
fascism.
Not true. The Soviets and the Bolsheviks were nationalist communists. You could be a nationalist and not be a fascist.
But you can argue that the communism that was going on there was not real communism. That's not Marxist's thing. I don't align with communism. But that was more of authoritarian communism.
It was never
Communism.
real communism. That's right.
No, it was not real communism.
We don't agree on this. So what is your then contention?
My contention is that we are approaching a era in America where we are going to be tested. And now we are getting to a point what's almost as modern-day tribalism, which is happening in Africa. I am part Ethiopian. My dad was an immigrant here. He came here legally and did all the steps and all that. But just like in Africa with Ethiopia and their government, Tigray, which is a subsection of Ethiopia, is being slaughtered because of tribalism. They're all part of Ethiopia. Ethiopia used to be 3 countries together: Somalia, Eritrea, and Ethiopia. It's modern-day tribalism. They split because they didn't want to be part of the tribes anymore. And now we're seeing with the political parties so polarized, we don't even want to talk to each other anymore. Which is why I came out here today.
Thank you for that. Just a super interesting hypothetical one about like division and tribalism. Was there a recent time where a Democrat came on campus and just had an open mic where anyone could disagree with them? Are you aware of that kind of an event?
No. This is like one of the first events I've seen.
No, thank you. So the point is it the MAGA movement, like myself, or Democrats that are inviting discourse and speech to try to find common ground?
Well, I feel that you, yourself, Charlie, is a person that invites criticism and stuff like that.
Thank you for that.
This type of stuff I like. Trump doesn't do that. He doesn't see debate. He more just says.
I would push back, though. It's Donald Trump who will sit in the Oval Office and take questions uninterrupted for 45 minutes when Joe Biden, couldn't even answer a single question. I know that you're not, supporting Joe Biden. But back to your original contention. I need to forcefully push back on this because there is nothing fascistic about deporting people in your country that are here illegally, securing your borders, and putting your own people first. You're right. We are being tested. I think we're being tested in a different way. We're being tested at whether or not, when the American people overwhelmingly vote for something, are they going to get it? And right now, a group of unelected judges and unelected bureaucracy is trying to stop the will of the popular vote of the American people, which I think is way more dangerous than the boogeyman of fascism in our country right now.
Well, I would say that's not really a boogeyman of fascism. It's just fascistic tendencies that are seeming to get more and more consistent with how Trump wants to run his government. And as for the judges, it's checks and balances. They're there to make sure that, hey, let me check this out real quick and go through all the documents our forefathers have written.
No. The founding fathers never gave district court judges nationwide injunction power. This is a new thing over the last 50 years. That's fine. We're not going to agree on a lot, but I will say this, that the criticisms that we are the fascists are laughable. Because let me just ask you, and this is just more broadly, and I understand this is not to Trump. How many of you students out there feel as if you'd be graded differently if you come out as a conservative or a Trump supporter? Raise your hand. Look around. Every hand goes up. And so that is the cultural left on Michigan State's campus that will use power to punish a student with their grades because they have different views. That's fascism. That is definitional fascism. And I'm not saying you're defending that, but I want to make sure you're consistent that there are fascistic tendencies more so on the left than anywhere on the right.
Then I want to say this. I am from Texas. We're southern as it gets, conservative as it gets. No matter how many times my city of Dallas goes blue, Fort Worth goes blue, Houston goes blue, we're always going to be red, and I've accepted that. And I don't mind that. But also the same...
God bless Texas. Okay.
God bless Texas. The same thing that happens here happens at campuses over in Texas. Not UT, because that's Austin.
No, for sure. The campuses are islands of totalitarianism. That's my point, is that campuses, because they're so homogeneously to the left, that even if you go to Alabama, the same thing happens. It's not a red state or blue state issue. It's that these campuses are super, super far to the left as a posture of just ideological diversity.
I don't believe that. Texas A&M, I have several friends that go there. They're all some of my best friends from high school. Very conservative. I see stuff they post on time all the time.
First of all,
it's not exactly...
Come on, man.
This school's board... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. I got to get to the next question. But 98% of all college professors gave to Kamala Harris. 98% that gave to Kamala Harris. And I don't need to ask the audience because we know it's true. Would you guys say that most professors are conservative or liberal here? Would you say? They're liberal.
Professors, not the people in power. The school board.
The administration?
Yeah, the administration of the school is what makes the decision. We have a student body here that makes resolutions and says things to the student board. They never listen.
Doesn't the governor appoint the board of regents in Michigan? Is it elected? Okay. Well, then I don't know what the balance is in Michigan.
Exactly. It's elected here. So someone can run on a completely random issue. Like, I remember someone ran because they wanted to reinstate the swim team. There's no swim team here.
Okay.
It's stuff like that. They get elected.
But maybe we should bring back the swim team. Is that fascism? I don't know. So.
But they get elected and then they don't do stuff that's consecutive to the university. They more try to silence stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that's happened on this campus that many people may not know, and they send ambiguous emails and stuff. It's stuff like that. It's not just this university.
No, that's not my
every
contention.
University
I just
has its own
want to
type
make
of atmosphere.
My takeaway for you is if you're going to try to be pattern recognition with Trump for fascism, look at the American left and do the same. Try to say, because for example, I mean, something that I think is inherently fascistic and disgusting is when Tim Walz is out there cheering for Tesla's stock price to go down. I mean, it's awful, right? I mean, who does something like that? You disagree with a company and you want to see a bunch of people go out of work?
The same way Trump promoted Teslas by having them on the lawn?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? That's more American jobs, more American labor. No, it's the opposite.
That's promoting the stock because people are going to see people in the MAGA movement love Trump and want to do stuff that's like him. It's psychology.
One is good for America, more American jobs, more American labor. Tim Walz is cheering for a factory to close. He's cheering for people to go out of work, which I find to be really disturbing. Thank you for your time. I got to the next question. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You good? Hello, how are you doing? Good. So I want to first ask you if you endorse Vivek Ramaswamy for governor of Ohio.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of Vivek hate out there, so let me have it.
Okay. So Vivek tweeted...
And I won't defend everything he's ever said. I'll defend myself, but I can't possibly defend another person. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So he said there are two fundamental differences between cultures and countries, and the difference.
And I disagree with him on this.
And you think that a country is built on culture, blood, soil?
Yes, and a people.
You said previously, even today, that the United States is built on multitudes of ideas.
No, I've said in addition also to people and history and a shared tradition and culture, yeah.
Okay.
But also ideas, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, ideas are part of it. It's like a stool, right? So you have a stool of ideas, you have a stool of people, culture, history. It all kind of works together. It's like a four-legged stool.
And I would also counter this as well. I'm not specifically counter, but you also said previous with the Knetchel. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Cliff Knechtel.
Knechtel?
Or Knechtle, yeah.
And you said it
Good
also.
guy.
You said it today as well that the American government was founded Christian. It was founded as Christians, and it is a Christian system built off biblical text, quoted more than political philosophers in the past. Don't you find that contradictive that you are endorsing your endorsement?
Endorsing a Hindu, basically, for office. Is that what you're saying?
Not specifically. I'm saying that if you're arguing that America is built on culture, which is European and Christian, is not contradictive to endorse.
That's a fair question. I don't think it's contradictive. Number one, I've got to know Vivek, so I'm very biased. He's become a friend of mine. Number two, what would be better for Ohio? Vivek, who's a Hindu but also a conservative, I think would be an amazing governor, or some like left-wing Democrat who pretends to be a Christian. Of course, Vivek, who's a conservative, and I think would make Ohio a much better and greater state.
I don't think the argument is specifically right versus left. I think it actually tends down to the perception of America, because I don't think that Vivek's, and I'm not making an argument for the left, I'm making an argument against what Vivek, and you have to question what your idea is of an American. Is it rooted in culture? Is it rooted in identity? European identity, is that a part of being an American, or is it merely just believing that America is an idea?
America is not an idea, fundamentally. But I guess I would have to ask you a more provocative question: is Vivek an American to you?
I think that there's an issue though, where
yes
it's the
no?
perception of. I don't think you can answer that with a yes or no, because
I think Vivek is an American
because because you can make the argument obviously that he was born in
He's a U.S. passport holder,
and he said in the past in an interview that I was born in America as you were, and that makes me just as American as you. I think that there is a degree to understand when you argue that America is built on culture, built on religion, that there is a fundamental principle of a Native American, and I think that the argument of being what is American is different than what Vivek's perception is.
I have a different view than he does.
So you also agree, though, but I don't understand.
You could still vote for people you don't agree with everything on. You can still advocate for friends that you think are going to do a great job, and I think he would bring spunk and spirit and energy to the governorship of Ohio and be way better than DeWine. DeWine's been a freaking disaster. I mean, he's been awful in Ohio, and so I think he'd be highly capable for that job, and that's fine. That's a component, but by culture, can I just distill this down? Like, do you not want to vote for him or support him because he's an Indian?
I mean, is that something that,
because you're saying culture, I want you to be just more explicit. Like, what is the limiting factor that you're saying with culture with him?
Well, I think his perception, I don't think it's specifically like you drew on the fact that he's a Hindu and that he's Indian. I think it's his perception of what is American, and he said...
But that's not a deal breaker for me, is the point.
And then I'm saying
and we just disagree.
I disagree with that.
Fair enough.
And so what I'm saying...
We're not gonna come to agreement then.
Yeah, and so what... And I want to draw deeper on the fact of like what is an American, and he said that American culture is built in laziness, and
I don't share that.
But this is the fundamental principle, though, that's what the version of the right is becoming. More idealized towards Vivek.
I'm going to do everything I can to not let that happen.
So, but an endorsement of him?
Yeah, I mean, he's still a friend, and we disagree on something, but do I think he'll be a phenomenal governor? Absolutely. Do I think that he has a capability to turn Ohio into what unfortunately has become well, actually we're in Michigan, a mediocre state. I could say that up here. Okay, if I said that in Ohio, they'd throw stuff at me. Do I think he has the capability and the versatility? Do I think he loves the country? Absolutely. I think he's a patriot. By the way, I've had long discourses and debates with him privately on this. We're saying, Vivek, I think you're way off base. I don't think like American youth culture, as he put it, is lazy. I think that actually we have some of the greatest untapped potential of people on the planet. of people that have been told that they're small and awful, especially young men. So anyway, a lot goes into an endorsement. You don't have to agree with everybody on that. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Yes. Just a reminder, disagreements can work their way up. We're working on it, right? Great. Thank you. You got a whole thesis there, man.
Oh, yeah, I got a book here.
Yeah, make it quick.
I'll say I'm an engineer, not a politician before I ask this question. I'm also a Christian, but not evangelical like yourself. But Turning Point USA often advocates for America First policies, which I largely agree with. How do you reconcile this with AIPAC's lobbying for unconditional U.S. support of Israel? And I would argue that that is actually prioritizing foreign interest over American taxpayers.
Well, yeah, but we don't take money from AIPAC, so I don't have to reconcile it.
I think that a large part of our government does, though. A lot of different representatives are...
Yeah, for sure. Let's be consistent, though. Are you also critical of the Armenian lobby, the Turkish lobby, right, the Cuban lobby? There's lots of American citizens that have foreign, not just interests, but foreign opinions.
Yeah, and funding is kind of
right?
what you're hinting at.
And
yeah.
so, for example, like I understand there's a lot of criticism against AIPAC. I certainly don't agree with everything they do. I don't think they should have went after Thomas Massey, for example. I think Thomas Massey's awesome. But like the thrust against AIPAC is this idea that they're purchasing politicians, right? Is that essentially the...
Yeah, I would put a priority on AIPAC just because they are so largely funded and they do have such an impact over U.S. government and elections.
Yeah, but I do have to say what I said earlier. I don't want to relitigate the whole thing, but the voters of a lot of these Republicans are very pro-Israel.
Yeah.
So it's easy just to attack the money as if they're being purchased. If in some of these places you came out against Israel, in some of these states, you would get run out of office. You'd get primaried. So your criticism is not about the special interest group of AIPAC, but it's actually the Republican Party that tends to be very pro-Israel.
Well,
the voters is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would say there are some sects too. There's some different examples of Democratic representatives who I might not align with on the majority part, but they were pushed out of their races due to AIPAC funding, like ad blitzing campaigns and stuff.
Which by result I supported, even though by intent I didn't.
Yeah.
You know.
I think we
some of these people were awful. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I understand
like,
that.
Like Jamal Bowman was he's like the worst.
I know, but spending tens of millions of dollars to counter these people seems to be kind of sending a message to the rest of the representatives that they can't speak up against AIPAC.
Fair enough, but I do think we have to understand AIPAC is funded by Americans, right?
Yes.
So your opinion, your disagreement is that Americans have views that you don't have, and they're willing to spend money on it. It's not. That's. I mean, it's not. They're not receiving money from a foreign government. If there's evidence of that, I totally don't support it, and they should register under FARA. But like, these are Americans, right?
Yes, they're Americans with a lot of foreign ties is what I would argue.
Again, there's a lot of... So I just want to make sure we are consistent, and I'm sure you are. Should the Council for American Islamic Relations also register as a foreign lobbying organization?
I don't have enough knowledge to speak on that.
But fair enough, and I'm not trying to criticize you, but I get asked more about AIPAC than anything else, but never about CARE. By the way, CARE is the Council for American Islamic Relations that is the funding source behind Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. So I just want to make sure that the advocacy is equally appropriated, right? If your whole thing is like get foreign influence and money out of elections, then we should criticize the Cuban lobby, which is huge in D.C. Just so we are clear, if you are a Florida senator and you are like even slightly weak on Cuba, they will take you out before breakfast, okay? So also in California, if you're a representative in the Pasadena area, the Armenian lobby is incredibly powerful there. And so there are a lot of examples of Americans that still have, let's just say, very strong opinions foreign, but for whatever example, AIPAC gets all the attention, maybe for the funding source, but thank you for your question.
So would you also argue that you are largely against foreign funding being a part of elections? Are you against these lobbying groups?
There should be no foreign funding, basically.
I agree with that. I think that was kind of the crux of the argument to come to the conclusion that we're all against the foreign funding in U.S. elections. So
for sure.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yes.
Can you raise it? Yes, that's great. Thank you. Hi, my name is Ruth. I am so excited to be here today. I'm a huge fan, so this is a special moment for me. But basically, my question is, there are circumstances in the U.S. where little kids come in illegally because of their parents, but they come here and this is their whole life. They have no history in their home country, right? How do we humanely and as conservatives or Christians, like, deal with this in a way that represents our values?
You're not going to like my answer, and that's okay. The whole family unit should be returned back to the country.
Okay, that's what I was tending to think, but...
And can I just build it out?
Yes.
So a moral teaching of Scripture is that you do not favor justice for the poor or for the rich. This idea of blind justice. And if we agree it is wrong to do this, and we say, okay, what's the most humane way? It'd be one thing if we say, hey, you separate the family, which ironically, people on the left actually want the family separated.
Yeah.
They say, oh, keep the kids and bring the parents back home. I think that's wrong. I think the whole family unit should return. And here's why, is that these parents, when they brought some of these kids across the border, they knowingly put their kids in harm's way.
That's true.
And it is not fair to the kids of other nations that are not able to legally immigrate into this country just because others were carried across the southern border.
Do you think it would then be reasonable to give maybe these families, and unfortunately due to their parents' decisions, maybe more priority about getting an actual visa or?
No visas. I know, I'm pretty harsh on this, and I'll tell you why. If we compromise on immigration law, then we do not have immigration law. We must be uncompromising in the enforcement of law, period. And again, if we want to accommodate certain things, then we're basically going to say, hey, this law should not exist and anybody can come in under any circumstances. But again, the parents are the ones to blame here, not the U.S. government. The parents brought their kids, and I'm going to say something a little bit provocative, almost as like mini hostages against the system, where they're like, well, you can't deport me because I brought these kids.
Like a safety mechanism.
Yeah, as a safety mechanism. And by the way, just so we're clear, some of these kids are brought across in sex trafficking ways.
Yeah.
Some of them are brought in very cruel and unusual ways. And so, again, people don't always love that answer, but...
Yeah. I guess my next question to that would be, I'm trying to think. I just, like, because they have no, maybe they don't even, their first language is English. They may not even speak their native language. And you said that it was... because that's the law right now, that we don't allow immigration inside.
Yeah,
but in the
USC
past presidency, maybe when they came in, that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
so
no, that's well,
and I don't agree with that was the way it was during that time. But then shouldn't we maybe allow those people to stay because that was acceptable in that moment?
If you're 25 years or younger, it's been the law for about 25 years. Right, so about like 2008, 8 USC 1312.
I guess saying just like in the last presidency, it was just so like chillax, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, so look, like let's just talk about something that's going to be a huge task, because what you're talking about is still a hypothetical in some ways, because you're talking about people that might have been here for 10 or 15 years. The more important, and one that's going to be a huge lift, is getting all 14 million people that came across in the last 4 years. They do know another nation. They do know another home.
Yeah.
We're not even getting the people that are 18, 20, 25. We're talking about trying to get 14 million people that were bum rushed across the border in the span of 4 years. Every single one of those people should be returned back to their country of origin and deported from the United States.
I agree with that as well. So
thank you for your time. Do you want a hat?
Yes. Can I have the white? Yes.
Yes.
The white one.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Charlie. I'm Alessandra Hayden. I am a high school homeschool student. I'm a senior this year, so I have no affiliation with any colleges or MSU. My question is, and I've seen your signs, you agree with the MAHA movement. You make America healthy again. Do you agree that RFK has been bought and sold, and we are not getting what we voted for, or what we have accepted?
Oh, no, it's way too early to say that. Way too early.
Is it? Because the major thing that's happening now is... Go closer. Okay, thank you. The major thing that's happening right now is RFK just stated publicly that measles vaccine is the only way to stop the outbreak.
He said it's the best way. Right.
Okay. Well, the best way, doesn't that kind of mean the only way?
No, in fact, RFK, first of all, thank you for being here. I know it's a high schooler, and so I don't want to be very gentle with how I respond. Just so you know, RFK has also rushed vitamin A shipments to the measles outbreaks, which vitamin A helps a lot. He's also rushed steroids, otherwise known as budesonide, that helps people breathe. Bobby Kennedy is the top leading public health official, and as the top leading public health official, it is proven that if the MMR vaccine does not hurt you, which it might, it actually is very effective at stopping the spread. However, there's serious questions about whether the MMR vaccine is dangerous or not. So what he said is factually true, And I say this as someone who's a great skeptic of public health authorities.
I agree with that in that stance. Would you agree, I guess flipping, for during his campaigning, in a way, to get into the health, would you say that he got false support, like put out some false claims to get influencers and celebrities of like saying that we are in support, and then we're not really seeing anything and it's just kind of all being pushed away?
No, again, he's only been in there for like a month and a half. Just on Tuesday, he announced that there will be the largest study into the causes of autism in American history, and by September, we're going to get some real answers. I think the world of Bobby Kennedy, and just to be clear, he actually went and visited where the measles outbreaks happen, and he alone talking about vitamin A helping with measles, that alone is a major accomplishment. We would never hear that from public health authorities before. So I encourage you to trust the process, and Bobby Kennedy has my support. Thank you very much.
Can I follow up with a different question?
Really quick. We got a very long line, and we took a while on...
Okay, I understand. So I'm going to flip it entirely away from... So I watched your Jubilee interview, and one of your major stances was college is a scam. I'm going either into college or away from college, leaning towards not going to college. Would you say that standard first, like from the kindergarten through high school experience, do you feel like it is very biased to get you to college? And then if you don't have it, it's hard to make it in the world?
Yeah, I mean, look, college is super biased. Look, college is good for some people in the audience if you're studying engineering or something technical or something focused. The vast majority of people that go to college are studying anthropology or communications or soft social sciences. And it's not my opinion. The data shows that half the people in this audience, if they get a job, will get a job that does not require a college degree. That shows that rendered basically your entire time here useless. So every person is specific and different. We need more people that are welders, entrepreneurs, HVAC, and people that take risks and start businesses. And also, a lot of these jobs are going to be replaced by AI. Thank you so much. I got to the next question. Thank you.
Can I get a hat?
Yes, thank you. We're going to do more hats. All right, yes, sir.
Hi, Charlie, I love you. I have two things I disagree with you on, though. So sorry, I'm so tossed around. Trump's... You can't hear me with the mask. It's... So sorry. Anyways. No. Ooh. Okay. No more time for the stupid questions. I gotta focus. Anyways. Freedom of speech. I love Trump. Trump is my favorite president in the whole planet, in the whole world. Best president of any nation. Can I get an amen? But I don't believe he's a true man who pushes freedom of speech. Just because you remember when he was in the remember the White House debriefing after he changed the Gulf of Mexico, right, to the Gulf of America? The greatest thing I've ever heard.
Okay, let's get to the question. You think you're funny, but yeah, let's get to the question. So yes, okay, he kicked out the AP. He didn't.
I'm on your team. Don't be mean to me.
No, I got it. I mean, sure.
No,
whatever,
but no.
fine.
Freedom of speech for the most part. Everything else, except for when people were disagreeing with him in the White House, the Gulf of Mexico. When
Yes,
they
but
kept saying the Gulf of Mexico.
I got it. He did not forbid the Associated Press from writing what they want to write. He said that if you're not going to acknowledge official government terminology, you can't be in the White House briefing room. Very simple.
He banned the people from those 45-minute press conferences that you were talking about, though.
Okay, yes, and if they started calling Michigan Wisconsin, you'd do the same. Basically, it's official government terminology of what things are named, and if all of a sudden you start making stuff up, and you're not going to acknowledge official government-issued terminology, they have every right to kick those people out of those briefings.
They barely even gave it a week for it to set in.
Well, but the AP made a declarative decision that they were going to defy it. Again, by the way, you and I don't just get to walk into the White House briefing room. It's a privilege, not a right. And so if you don't behave in a way with a code of conduct, the president has the right to not have you be there and ask questions.
With transgender people, you know how like sometimes you'll be like, wait, I'm not making a point about it, but you know how sometimes you'll be like, she when they're now a he? It's the same thing. You're not used to the change.
So renaming Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America is the same what you're saying.
If that's what you want to say, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Tariffs, though. How are the tariffs going to benefit us? I know they're going to bring manufacturing to the United States, but...
Well, here in Michigan, your auto industry has been abused and destroyed for years And tariffs will help bring those jobs back here to the great state of Michigan.
Here in Michigan, we still have a lot of automotive plants.
No, of course you do. But you know what you don't have as much of? This is an important point. You don't have all of the parts that go into the car plants. That's what you guys lost. So what happened is Ford, GM, and Chrysler, they keep some largely symbolic assembly lines. Praise God, a lot of people still have those jobs. But as you know, there's over 1,000 parts that go into a car that need to be assembled, and a lot of those were now made in China or overseas. So so what happened is Detroit used to not just be the place where GM, Chrysler, and Ford make those cars. There were thousands of other factories that used to exist that would do all of the supporting infrastructure going into making these vehicles.
But here's the one thing that I'll say to that is the manufacturing cost here is like undeniably more expensive than wherever we're manufacturing this stuff. The prices of the prices of everything, because the cost of production is going up, it's going to go up. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling.
It's okay, it can. I mean, look,
it's like an undeniable factor. It's more expensive here.
For now, look, we're going to see the application of AI and mass robotics, but I'm of the opinion I would rather pay a little bit more for an American car if I know it's made by an American and employed by American labor than a Japanese car. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Can I get a hat, please?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thank you.
Love you.
All right, disagreements, guys? Yep.
Okay. Can I start off? Can I get a hat first? Yeah.
You want a hat at the beginning?
Yeah. Okay. So.
Talk right into the mic.
Okay. I'm Eric. I've lived in China for a year-ish, so I have a question about tariffs. Yeah, okay. I do have a question about tariffs. How is this supposed to benefit the United States economy when it is clearly going to make things more expensive for us? It's going to offset stuff onto the consumers more than...
Well, I mean, so you've spent time in China. If that's the case, why does China have all these tariffs?
China is only having these tariffs in retaliation
No, that's not correct. No, the other way around. They had tariffs for the last 20 years. We cannot sell American goods in China. So if what you are saying is correct, why did China have permanent tariffs for 20 years?
I'm not sure. That is a decision of the Chinese government that I am not affiliated with.
No, I'm just saying, though, that maybe because tariffs don't actually always do the things you say they're going to do, right? Yes. So if you just look at it through a very simple, economic lens, supply and demand, it seems that they'll raise costs. But you know what? If you make a product in America, you avoid a tariff. Definitionally, if you invest in America, you avoid a tariff. These tariffs are a forcing function also to get us to sell our products in other countries. We cannot sell Fords in China, for example. We cannot sell our liquid natural gas in a lot of other countries. This is to try to liberate the market so we can sell American goods in other countries.
All right, I do have another question. If K over F is a Galois extension and the underlying Galois group is the symmetric group S3, is K3 a splitting field for the irreducible cubic monic polynomial over F?
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to answer that question, so thank you. Did anyone understand any of that? Okay, good. And then he just walks away. Okay.
Hi, my name's Ryan. I'm actually the VP of a Turning Point chapter
great,
at
good.
Grand Valley, and I consider myself a staunch nationalist, as do most of my friends, and one of my biggest concerns is foreign influence and foreign interests in our government. I believe that our politicians should not be allowed to hold dual citizenships or own stocks that are largely, they shouldn't be able to own stocks in Chinese manufacturing companies, in French wine companies.
Or have multiple passports.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying that many of my conservative friends believe that Israel has a lot of undue influence just by the fact of...
We've done this 4 or 5 times, so I mean, yes.
I know.
But what is your question?
My question is, do you agree that American politicians should not be allowed to have dual citizenships?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I will answer any question, guys, but the obsession with Israel is really interesting to me. It's really something. Yes, it's the #1 question I get, I have to say, yeah.
Hey, Charlie. I'm just wondering, on your take on immigration, how would you feel about a 20 to 40-year moratorium? No visas, green cards,
I think 5 years is a good... We could start and measure it up. I mean, I don't know. We don't know what the world's going to look like in 20 years.
Yeah, that's a good point. How long do you think it would take for someone to become naturalized?
Oh, it should take longer than it currently does, yeah.
Well, how long do you think it takes to become fully Americanized? Because I would say, I'd say a generation, and I think even that's iffy. So I think we should stop it for 20 to 40 years.
Here's what I will say. the need for immigration is going to almost disappear soon because of artificial intelligence and robotics. Almost all of the arguments are, well, they're going to do the jobs we don't want to do, blah, 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 blah. All those arguments are about to go away because we're going to have mass application of advanced robotics very soon.
Okay, another question. I've been doing a lot of research and ordered the book The Bell Curve by Charles Murray. How do you feel about that?
That's good. There's a chapter that's awfully controversial around IQ.
Well, the whole book's about IQ. And on that note, do you think...
Well, there's one in particular.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's like chapter 9.
13. Do you think
13,
that we should replace college degrees with IQ testing to increase class mobility?
Standardized tests and IQ tests, yes. I think standardized tests are really good. You know, it's interesting. I think we should get rid of the college degree requirement at a lot of jobs and say instead, can you take a standardized test and an IQ test? Do you know they got rid of that post-COVID because it was racist?
It was 1971.
Well, no, we did it again in 2000 as far as an informal practice to get rid of it. I think we should absolutely bring back IQ tests.
Okay. Could I get a hat? Could I
yes,
get
you
the
can.
red one?
Thank you. You want a signed one?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. She wants the signed one, yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Charlie.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hi, so my name is Paige, and this is my twin sister, IVF.
Wow. Okay.
Alex.
Okay.
We have two older sisters that are also IVF.
Okay.
So this is about IVF, of course. So I'm particularly neutral on the topic. I don't want to have like a forced opinion because like my entire family has kind of become a product of IVF.
Are you guys surrogacy too, or just IVF?
Just IVF.
Oh, just
Yeah,
IVF.
just IVF. But I watch your videos. And so I've noticed that in one of your videos, you do mention that you are okay with IVF, but you're morally against it. Is that true?
Yeah, it's a little bit deeper than that, but I have a lot of problems with IVF, albeit while acknowledging the fruit. I'm glad you're both alive.
Thank you.
And so that must be celebrated. So it's I'll explain the difficulty, but please continue.
Okay, my part one of my question is just as someone who was conceived through IVF, why should I also be morally against it?
Good question. Okay, so as a pro-lifer, first and foremost, we have to have an issue with the discarded fertilized eggs that happen during IVF. That's why you guys are twins.
Yep.
Is because during your creation process, if I can be provocatively blunt, you lost a lot of your siblings.
Yes.
Right? Am I correct in saying that?
So for our older sisters, they had 6 embryos in their batch. 2 came out, of course, but for us, there were 3, and then 2 came out.
Yeah, and so that's my first problem, is that it definitionally is saying, like, we're going to discard life to get to life.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do agree, but in a certain way, So in a certain way, those embryos, say they weren't going to become anyways, but at least we were trying because they were going to be raised in a house where we are pro-life and we really wanted to be able to have kids and cherish that. But by taking that loss, they were able to have at least us out of the 3. At least they could have the 1. So it's kind of, I don't know where I'm going with that.
I understand what you're saying. So there's a pro-life way to do IVF, which is only implant the eggs of which the children that you actually want to raise. And so, by the way, you have a lower likelihood of working because in your case, it would be maybe 2 or 3. For example, the way that the IVF doctor will sell it is like, look, here's 6 embryos. You'll be lucky if 1 or 2 implant to the uterine wall. Let's see what happens. Now, in certain cases, 4 implant to the uterine wall and you get quadruplets, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is what happens. I find that to be a little bit creepy, to be honest, that a doctor can kind of call shots on what life is going to live and not live. And I find that to be directly contradictory to my pro-life stances. Let me go to my second point, though, which makes it even more difficult. I think it's a human rights violation if there are millions of fertilized eggs just sitting in freezers right now. Those are human lives. If we're pro-life, we believe those are human lives, and they're just kind of in freezers right now. So I have a problem with that. But I don't deny the fruit of how amazing people can be a result of it. Third, though, and I think this is most important, there's a great book called Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, which I encourage everyone to check out. In Brave New World, he hypothesized in the first chapter that there will be a day where human beings can be created without sex. And he wrote about in very vivid novel form what is wrong with that. So IVF is actually the 180 opposite of birth control. So birth control is sex without life. IVF is life without sex. So it's the exact opposite. So, and here's my final problem with IVF, and it's actually in a pro-IVF way. The people who do IVF are actually the most pro-life people because they want babies. Exactly. They're the last people that would walk into an abortion clinic.
Exactly.
So further complicating this very big issue. So would I want to make it illegal? No, but I have serious humane issues with that. I also think it's like the further Frankenstein monster kind of like we are going to control nature. Like we're resurrecting old species of dire wolves, like we're doing gene editing of CRISPR. I don't think we should play games with nature as if we are God Almighty. I think that's a terrible idea. I think that's how you get the worst civilizations. So all that to say, the last thing is, second to cancer, the worst thing a human being can suffer with mentally is infertility. It's a proven fact. It creates more depression, more anxiety. So there's no easy answer to that. So my advice to pro-life couples that want to do it, try to push back on the doctor and say, we only want to implant the embryos that we would be comfortable raising. Do not act as if it's like a roulette table. Like, look, we're going to lose some of them, and I know we're not going to raise all those kids. If you fertilize the egg and then it doesn't attach to the wall with the full intent of raising those kids, that's more morally justifiable, other than we're going to throw 6 ones up against the wall and see which ones stick. That one I find to be bordering on eugenics. I know that sounds to be a provocative statement, but it is. Basically, we're going to kill 5 to let 1 live. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
And albeit, you guys are going to have a great life because of IVF, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I do have another, just like one more. What would it take for you kind of like answered it, but what would it take for you to be like borderline morally okay with IVF?
Yeah,
if we are able to...
I think I've articulated it. It would largely invalidate the IVF. And what I've just articulated would make the IVF outcomes go down dramatically. Because the reason why IVF outcomes are able to be successful is that each round of IVF, if it does not attach to the uterine wall, the doctor says, well, we did 6, let's do 10. And let's do 15. Let's do 25. Now that's extreme, but it does happen where they want a baby so badly, they're just going to throw everything they possibly can. So what ends up happening is then they give the mom progesterone, which then basically makes the uterine wall, quote unquote, sticky during her time of ovulation, which then can make the baby then attach to the uterine wall. No easy answer. I think, so last final point. Infertility, I think, is a symptom. It is not in itself a sickness. Infertility, I think, is a symptom of terrible diet, of genetic issues that we're not able to necessarily understand. And in my opinion, I think there are toxins that are poisoning us, that are artificially lowering testosterone rates. And young ladies, I'm going to get so much hate for this. If you never want to deal with infertility, be very careful taking the pill. The pill has a lot more downsides than they will ever tell you. Be very careful. As a man, I know I'm not allowed to say that. There's a lot of downsides to the pill. And am I allowed to say it? Thank you.
Yes, you are. Yes,
because
sir.
The pill will dramatically increase your likelihood of going to an IVF industry clinic. Do you want to know the even more sinister take? If I was just caring about profit, I would try to get a bunch of 14-year-old girls on a birth control pill to addict them as an annuity, have them not want to have kids till their 30s, then they're infertile, then they have to come to me and buy IVF services. That's only if you'd want to make a bunch of money, though. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you both.
Maybe please.
Yes,
both
you get 2 hats because you're twins.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How's everyone doing today?
Good. Thank you both. God bless you guys.
You too.
That was a great question.
What's going on, man? I've been watching your videos since high school, so it's kind of crazy to go full circle in college, man. So how you doing today? Good. So I want to talk to you, and I don't want to misquote you, so if you could just restate your opinion. Oh, sorry. If you could just restate your opinion on this. You said that, obviously the auto industry here has been weakening over the years, and that you said these tariffs are going to help. Is that right?
Will almost certainly help the auto industry specifically, correct? Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we've all seen the estimates that have been coming out where prices on cars are going to go up by 25%, 50%, right? And obviously, you know that components sometimes travel multiple times between a country on the borders between Canada, Mexico, and so on, just to get to these auto manufacturers. My point is, if a car, right, if the cost goes up, demand will go down, right? and then obviously supply will go down, right? Because that's basic law of economics. And then at that point, if I don't have a high demand and I don't need to create a high supply to supply that, won't I need less workers?
Smart take. Number one, just so we remember, we saw car prices go up dramatically during COVID. Do you guys remember that? Because there was a chip shortage.
No, 100%.
No, I just want to make, and by the way, we endured that. And I'm not one to try to say we need higher prices because people are getting crushed. But I just want to have everyone remember, during COVID, we saw nearly a 50% increase in car prices, and it almost received no national news coverage. In fact, used cars were going more than new cars in certain markets because of, this specific chip shortage. The one thing I will say, though, is that I think you're underestimating America's consumer drive and the built-in demand for vehicles and new vehicles. I think actually demand will largely stay stable. I don't necessarily think prices are going to increase as much as you think, because remember, these tariffs are on those made in foreign countries. Toyota makes a lot of their vehicles here. Those are not going to be tariffed. Hyundai makes a ton of their vehicles here. Honda just opened up a new facility, I think, in Kokomo, Indiana. And so the tariffs are a forcing function. I'm willing to play it out. Here's why. I know how Michigan has suffered economically. Detroit used to be the wealthiest city in America. It's a fact.
No, I agree.
It was a crown jewel. In fact, you look at the library, you look at the old buildings of Detroit, it's like going through ancient Athens, how much money used to be flowing through here. And now I think it's worth us saying, wait a second, what did we trade to get rid of that? And it very well might not work out, to your point. I think it's very well worth the experiment because it's one that people voted for.
Gotcha. No, but I understand about that. But if we look at the demand for automobiles, right, during COVID, that was largely in part for secondhand vehicles. People weren't buying them because, if we remember correctly, like a lot of these dealerships were like gouging the hell out of these new cars that were coming out. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, demand is going to be there, but it's going to be for a different hand market. And like, I agree. It's great. Toyota, Ford, GM, all these guys are making their cars here, but still a lot of these components come from other countries. And
that is true.
Yeah. So.
I grant you all of that. I don't want to be overly ideological. Sure. It could work out. I think in part, employing more American labor is a net benefit for the American people. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for your time.
Can I get a hat?
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for your
Thank
time,
you.
Man. Appreciate it. Thanks, boss.
I will wait.
Thank you.
Shush, 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 shush. I'll wait. I'll wait. If you want me to talk, you're going to have to be quiet for a little bit. Shush, shush, shush. Quiet coyote. Quiet coyote. You know what? I can wait here for the quiet crowd to quiet down. Y'all wanted to hear me. Y'all wanted to hear me.
Let it rip.
Come on.
Let's hear it.
All right. Hello there. So, with me I have a sign here. True Christians love everyone. Would you say you believe in this sign?
Yes, but define love.
Define love? It's a respect. You respect someone enough to not judge them, to not hate them for what they're doing, no matter what it is.
Do you lie to people you love?
Do I lie to people I love? Not often enough. And I don't lie about...
Should we, in the ideal, when you love somebody, should you lie to them?
Depends on the lie. So, let me give an example here. Say, do you have a sibling? Say you have a sibling and they have a dress on and it is just ugly, the ugliest thing you've ever seen. Are you going to tell them that dress is ugly, you need to change it, you horrible person?
Yes. In fact, I'll do it in a way that is filled with love, but I love my sister so much that if I feel if she's going to leave the house and be made fun of, I won't let her do that because that's what love is all about. You see, love is not...
Are you going to make her feel ugly saying that?
Well, no. In fact,
how would you say it to make them not feel ugly?
I would say, listen, I care a lot about you. I think that maybe you should change that outfit, or let's see what other outfits you might have.
What if she's like, no, I spent a lot on this. I'm really proud. I think this looks great. Are you going to say that what she thinks look great doesn't look great to you?
I would say, look, you can obviously wear whatever you want, but I want to caution you that if you wear that dress out in public, it might not be received the way you think it would be received. I would be remiss not to say that if I actually loved my sister. I'd be remiss because love is not affirmation. Love is not confirmation. Love is making sure that you care so much about the other that you're willing to challenge and point out flaws when you see them and have the courage to articulate it. That's what love is, as embodied by Christ our Lord. Because you have true love right there. And
what? I can't have my hand in my pocket.
So true love is truth, spoken in love.
So would you say then that believing that homosexuality is a behavior, then you consider it a loving behavior to tell a homosexual that they're just wrong with what they believe?
That's not my opinion. It's what the scriptures teach. You have a cross in front of you, so I will talk to you on scriptural basis. The Bible says very clearly that the behavior of homosexuality is a sin. I don't make those rules. I didn't design that. I'm simply telling you what the scriptures say explicitly.
But they also say to love your enemy.
Yes, how do you love somebody, though? You love somebody by telling them the truth. You see, you are conflating love with acceptance. They are two completely different things.
So do you think we don't have an accepting God, then?
We have an incredibly accepting, judgmental God that gave us an intermediary, his son.
So then is it your job to judge people?
Well, hold on. To not judge is a very...
It's a yes or no question. Do you judge? Is it your job to judge people, yes or no?
We absolutely should judge people, but we should not eternally judge them. That's God's job. That's what that scripture is talking about.
Have you damned someone to hell? Have you considered somebody who is something
I don't
different
have
from
the
you
power
as
to do that.
But have you considered it? Have you thought in your mind that someone who is homosexual is going to go to hell?
I've never even said that. In fact, if someone...
I didn't say did you think it. I didn't say did you say it. I said did you think it.
Even if I thought that, that alone is not even comparative, because homosexuality is a sin just as adultery is a sin, or as stealing is a sin, or coveting is a sin. They are all sins. I'm not trying to single out a single sin, but when asked or presented, what does my faith teach about this particular behavior, I'm going to give you a morally clear answer.
So what faith do you practice then? Because you say Christianity. Do you have a specific sect?
It's like evangelical. Basically,
this is over then.
Thank you.
Where did Bob Ross go? I hope he accepts Jesus in his heart.
Hey, Charlie. My name is Samwise, and I come here...
Samwise Ganges.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for noticing. So my question is about Christianity. And so I see a lot of Christians saying that there are certain verses in the Old Testament that we shouldn't hold to the standard of Christianity because they're in the Old Testament.
It's a great question.
But there's a verse, Matthew 5:17, that says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." And that's what Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount. And so how do we refute this as Christians? Like, how do we refute that the Bible does not condone?
It's a phenomenal question.
Bad things in the
book
Old
of Colossians, it says the ordinance of Moses were nailed to the cross. So there are three types of laws. So there are 613 laws of Judaism. Okay, there are three types of laws. There are the moral, there are the civil, and then the ceremonial. The ceremonial we are not bound to as all. Eating kosher. The feast days, having 4 strings basically outside, wrapping your arm in a specific way to pray at a specific time. We are not called to the ceremonial laws. The civil laws must become deeply under our consideration to employ, such as, ceremonial laws of should we have the death penalty or not. We're not bound to them, but we should heavily consider it. We are bound to the moral laws. The moral laws are basically the 10 Commandments. All of which, except one, the Sabbath, which is repeated but not in explicit form, was repeated by Christ our Lord. Don't take any other God before me. No idols. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. Right? Honor your mother and father. So you may live long in the land of which you are in. For 6 days you shall work, and for the 7th day you shall rest. Do not murder. Do not take false witness. Do not steal. Do not commit adultery, and do not covet. Those 10 basically moral laws remain a constant through Christian theology.
Okay. Thank you. May I have a hat?
Yes, thank you. Thanks. We'll go a little bit longer, guys, then I got a dash.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
It's a great campus. You guys have been great.
What's up, Charlie? My name's Eric. I came here to ask you if you think that due process is being ignored when it comes to deportation.
It's a complicated question. So yes, the Supreme Court has ruled that due process is a right given to people here illegally. However, it's more complicated than that because we're not clear if that meant while someone was illegal on soil and they committed a crime. So let's pretend that someone was an illegal immigrant and they committed murder. They get due process.
Right.
What's not clear is to the extent of due process when they have a deportation notice on their file. That is not clear.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Kinda, yeah. Have you
'Cause
heard
it's-
about the Maryland father that got deported to El Salvador? Like, I think it was.
Yeah, and it was a. To be clear, he wasn't a U.S. citizen.
Right.
It shouldn't have happened, and
Okay.
yeah.
So what's to say that it won't happen to anyone else? Because I think that was absolutely like ridiculous.
Yeah, again, I want to be clear. This wasn't just like a Maryland father. This guy was a gang member, but
He was a gang member, but then he was like he has a family.
again,
he's
I'm
been out
not
of the
gonna.
streets.
The
like-
Supreme Court ruled he has to be returned, so it was a
Right.
clerical error. Shouldn't have been there. But here's the problem with due process. There's not clear whether or not you've already gone through the court system. You need another whole reinvention of due process.
Okay. What's like your opinion on it? Like, what do you think it should be? Like the definition.
I think that, look, if you're here illegally, you should be able to be deported rather quickly out of this country. Period.
Okay.
Not have 3 years of court dates to go through the inevitable deportation.
Okay.
So we got to get to the next question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can I get a signed hat?
Yes, sure. Thank you. Yes, next question.
Hi there, my name is Jordan and I'm a third-year chemistry student here at Michigan State. And I have a question. So one of my friends, he's from Canada and he's here as an engineering student on a visa. Do you think that an individual like him should be deported out of the country, especially with the coming up
I don't know enough
getting
about
rid
him,
of the
but-
Department of Education?
I don't know enough about him, but I mean, I like Canada. I don't think it should be a 51st state, but it's got a lot of problems though. But-
That's fair. And then going forward, when you look at the Department of Education and look at it at a federal level compared to the state and local, how do you think FAFSA factors into that?
Oh, that's interesting. It should go into the Department of Treasury. We do give out way too much money in student loans, though. I think, though, that the Department of Treasury should handle all that. But generally, we're giving out way too much money in student loans in this country. So,
perfect.
Thank you. You want a hat?
Yes. Could I
All
get
right,
a hat?
does
for my
anyone
Canadian
disagree
friend,
in
too?
line that is remaining? Okay, you do. Can she cut in line? Yes. And then I want to get really quickly to disagreements, guys, because I'm running out of time. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel about Trump saying that he would run for a third term? Because that's something I really
Yeah,
disagree with.
I don't think it's there in the Constitution. I think he's trolling people.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You want a hat?
Can I get a signed one?
Oh, yeah, I'll sign it for you. Yes. You've been waiting, and then we'll get to the disagreement. Really quick, yeah.
Hi, Charlie. I just wanted to go back to what you said about sex without life being an issue, and I agree with that. But I wanted to ask you, with like a religious perspective, if you think that it's hypocritical of the Catholic Church to practice natural family planning because it's still trying to have sex without life, because that's an issue that I've struggled with.
No, I don't necessarily. I mean, the greater question. So, I'm not a Catholic, so I actually do believe birth control can be used.
I'm not Catholic either. I know my shirt
Yeah,
says
it says
that, but I
Catholic
just
that.
represent CC.
And I'm not one to ever point out hypocrisy in the Catholic Church. I do think there's some inconsistency, though, with the lack of birth control. I could talk at length about that. But do I think that birth control is overly used, especially in like premarital relationships? Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Without
you.
a doubt. Thank you very
Can I
much.
get a signed hat?
Yes, of course. Disagreement here? Yes, sir.
So, hi, my name is Carl. I'm a Lebanese Christian. I was born here legally. My parents came here legally. I was born in Pontiac, Michigan.
Great.
So,
My wife is half Lebanese.
hell yeah. So, you made a point before that if you have a double citizenship, you shouldn't be able to work in politics, which is the only thing I disagree with you on because I'm a dual citizen.
You have to
and
renounce one.
Yeah, but I pay taxes. I work in the U.S.
Fine. You could
I
do
love
that.
the U.S.
But I don't think you should be able to run for office and have two passports.
But why not? If my utmost loyalty is to the U.S.
Well, then prove it.
I prove it by working in the
No,
U.S.
then get rid of the
government.
other passport. I'm not trying to pick. I'm not trying to nitpick. But look, you could do all sorts of things. I think though you should not be able to have two passports and serve in the U.S. government. I find it to be insane because basically, why would you have that passport for any other reason than as like a backup plan?
Yeah, I have that.
And I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying as a principle.
So I have that passport because it's my parents' country. Like I respect.
You could still visit it without the passport.
Yeah, I need a visa though. That's it.
All right. Well, but you have to choose. That's the point. Is that if you're going to be coming to elected office, you have to make a declaration that this is my home. I've burned the boats. There's no backup plan. And I think that's a very reasonable thing for any country to say. Like China would not allow someone in the Chinese government to serve if they have a French passport, right? It would just, it begs the question of whose loyalty is it?
But like, doesn't that make me kind of like a second-class citizen? Like, why do I have to pay full taxes if I don't get the full privilege?
We're just talking about serving in Congress, right? So I don't know if you ever want to be in Congress.
Yes, I want to be in Congress.
Okay, great. So if you want to be in Congress, I encourage you to get rid of the Lebanese passport. Because it would always beg the question of like, which is your ultimate loyalty? And let me just tell you right now, contrast that with the founding massive immigration that we saw in the early 1900s. They would burn their passports from their native countries when they came to America because they were so happy to be here and they wanted to make a statement that they were part of the United States of America. So again, you have to tell me more of what you think you would get out of having that passport, other than it just being symbolic.
I can also vote back home.
Okay, exactly. That's the point, is that you could have ties to the government.
Yeah, but who says I don't vote for what would be an interest for America? Like, I voted, like, I would have voted back home for...
Again, I don't mean to nitpick you in particular, but it does beg the question that if you have dual citizenship, your loyalties might be split. And to use a principle of our Lord and also of Abraham Lincoln, a house divided cannot stand. So you just have to choose. It's nothing against you, right? It's just, in my opinion, you should not be allowed to have another passport and serve in the U.S. government. So thank you for your time. Yes, hat, you bet. Last question, and then I'll get you a hat. Don't worry, man.
I got an important family question.
All right, I'm running out of time. So, yes.
Hi, Charlie. I'm Jack. I just want to say I'm a really big fan of you. I agree with what most of you say. As a Christian, I do have to disagree with you on the death penalty, and I know you used to be anti-death penalty, now you are pro-death penalty. I just want to ask why you switched over, and I just disagree because, you know, God is just, he has so much grace and forgiveness that I feel like he should, you know, we should give even those who have done horrific things to people and murdered, give them chance and to change their heart and soften their heart and say, you know what, God, I do want to change, and obviously stay in prison, but, you know, change their heart in prison so they can spend eternally with God. And
it's a great question. So number one, we must remember before I say this that there are the three types of Old Testament laws. There's moral, there's civil, and ceremonial. Ceremonial we're not bound to. Civil we strongly consider. Moral we are bound to. It's cool? Yeah. So the only civil law, the only law actually that is repeated in all 5 books of the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the only law is that you will take a life if you take a life, meaning that the death penalty for murder. It's the only law repeated. Now that's a civil law that we must strongly consider. Now I'm going to give you an interesting argument you probably never have heard. We believe that all human beings are made in the image of God and are image bearers. If you allow murderers to live, it's an insult to the victim. You are basically saying that murderer has more rights than the person that they murdered, that they get to keep on having life, even though that they took the life from a victim. You're definitionally actually diminishing the victim and elevating the perpetrator. Not intentionally, but the only true actual statement of human equality is that we care about life so much that the penalty to take a life is that we will give you the ultimate price and consequence because we care about human life.
I just feel like that if you look at God's character, he's just so like, he's awesome, great, and his forgiveness, like we do not deserve his forgiveness. We don't deserve to, you know, be in...
But you still believe in a punishment for them. We're just disagreeing on the punishment.
Yes, prison, of course, but I just, if you look at God's character,
but then why did God say to do it 5 times in all 5 books of the Bible? You got to wrestle with that one. Because this is not man's law. This is God's decree. If you take a life, your life shall be taken. And that's what changed my mind. As I studied the Torah more and more, it wasn't just once, it was all over. And the reason being is that the best explanation God would give, or the interpretations, is God values human life so seriously that you must have the ultimate cost and consequence for taking one of his children.
Okay, yeah, I would study that more, definitely, of the first 5 books of the Bible, but I just feel like that when you look at his character and...
It's all good.
Yeah. When you look at his character, it's just like, if, let's say one of my parents was killed by someone, I feel I love that person so much that killed them. Like, I love everyone.
See, I wouldn't. I would have a different opinion.
I love everyone.
If someone killed someone I loved, I would advocate for the death penalty.
I love them. I love everyone so much that I want them to, you know, come to Jesus and have a personal relationship with them.
What we do find is this, though.
And I would forgive them. I would.
I will pause with this, and with this, because we're out of time. It's 3 o'clock. What we find, though, is that when people lose loved ones, it's the greatest switch where they go from anti-death penalty to pro-death penalty, which honestly is a little bit frustrating because it shouldn't matter if a loved one actually gets killed. It should matter if any human being gets killed. And by not having the death penalty, you are giving the murderer an advantage that the victim no longer has. They should not continue to have life if they took life from somebody else. It's the most just thing that we could possibly do.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
So,
thank you.
Thank you for your time. You want a hat?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Big fan.
Really quick, man. You're killing me.
Appreciate you, Charlie. All right, so basically, as somebody who's been a former liberal, but I got shown,
really quick. You got like 20 seconds. Go.
As a former father yourself, how would you guide and advise somebody to, not just guide his own children, but also the future generations into not falling into this insane bullshit ideology that the woke mind virus has given us?
As a father, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay, as a father, lead your home. Do your best to be able to earn enough money that your wife does not have to go into the workforce so that she can raise the kids. If she wants to, if she wants to go in the workforce, that's fine. But be the man and try to work the extra shift, work through the night, deliver the income so that your wife can be a mother to the kids. And finally, you are the one that must be the hawk and say no. Dads are there to say no. And as you know, when kids start to become 3, 4, 5 years old, you have to say no a lot. Not that moms can't say no, but they have a different gifting from the Lord. They are more tender, they're more compassionate, they're more long-suffering, whereas we as men must be the issuing and the ordering of masculine discipline. And I will say this, as young men get older, one of the major reasons we have the violence problem in Black America and in inner cities is young men need a masculine figure around so that they could teach them how to use their violent impulses.
Yes, sir.
A man-on-man mentorship. A single mom, God bless her, does not understand what a man is going through. Similarly, a young woman needs a father around so she could see, hopefully, the type of man one day that she will want to marry. And so you as a father must embody both those things at all times. God bless you guys. Thank you, Michigan State. Go Green!
Hello. Sorry if I'm not as articulate as I could be. It's weird to see you guys in person. I am kind of interested in the wordplay, specifically Charlie, because I've seen the most of you online, but also Candace, but I'm afraid I have nothing to ask, but specifically Charlie. A lot of the wordplay you use, and a lot of the sources that you draw on, like the statistics, you're very good at just ramping off statistics and throwing them into the person that you're arguing. I was wondering, where do you collect your sources, and do you make them easily accessible?
Of course. Would you like to name an example that I can cite for you now?
I don't question that the things that you're saying are factual. It's more how they are phrased and how they are put to us. So, for example, the thing that you've just said now about abortion, could you quickly remind me so I don't trip over my own
Sure,
words?
I'll do the first one. I say, a celebration of a pregnancy, why do we call that event a baby shower, not a fetus shower?
Right. So that in itself sounds like, oh, right, well, that means there's a cultural acceptance of the idea that it's a baby pre-birth. But that's just a linguistic, cultural way. So I call it, I'm pro-choice, for example, but I would still call it a baby shower. That doesn't mean I culturally accept the idea that it's a baby pre-birth. I'm just using a linguistic standard.
There's deeper meaning, though. Let's play this out. It's fun. So if the individual that has the baby shower decides right after the baby shower to have an abortion, what is that inside of her called?
I don't want to do this, if that's all right. I don't want to do abortion.
I know, but you see all of a sudden your argument
Can I use a
blows
different
up?
example if abortion is kicking up too much dust?
Say that again.
Can I use a different example
Sure,
of a fact?
that's fine,
Okay,
that's
so
fine, perfectly fine.
the first thing I saw with you in was your political debate with Hassan.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I saw of you. And you said, you'll probably still remember it, but it was that the worst 10 cities in America were run by Democrats.
Yeah, the poorest, most murderous. Yeah.
Right. So I looked it up because I wanted to read up on it, and there wasn't a source in the video mirror I'd seen. And that was correct. But it was also correct that of the top 10 cities, most of them were Democrat. And across the board, on average, most cities are Democrat. So the fact that you took it out of the entirety of the fact, which is that most cities are Democrat, the top best cities are Democrat, and the worst cities are Democrat, and you chose to only say that the worst cities are Democrat.
Top best cities are Democrat?
Well, so he means the most he means the wealthiest.
In the same way that, yeah. So the study that I found that mirrored your statistic said that.
So cities tend to be more, urban areas tend to be more to the left, just as they are. But when Republican mayors are actually allowed the chance to govern, the results are remarkable. And so let's juxtapose cities versus states, or even if you want to extrapolate what my argument was really talking about. In the laboratory of democracy theory, which we all believe in, which is when certain states are allowed to have juxtaposed policies and contrast against each other, you see huge differences. So the most prosperous, most job-creating, most entrepreneurial states are ones with Republican governors and low tax, low regulation type policies. And there is a correlation between the most murderous, the most dangerous, and the most honestly hopeless areas, and Candace grew up in one of them, are almost always dominated by Democrats. But when those Republican policies are actually allowed to be instituted, those communities turn around quite quickly. So.
And another one was that you said, I think it was the life expectancy in Cuba was 15 years lower than that in the United States.
Yeah, if the government doesn't kill you, right.
Right, democide. But I looked it up as well, and I found there was no information on that. And in fact, the Google definition, which draws on, it cites many different studies, and it fills it all in and it pulls it all together. And it chooses the most reasonable response that's backed up by facts and logic. It said that it was actually a year older than the US. So how do you, especially when you're, like, I think it's called galloping, when you're throwing so many points in a debate, do you not think it's unfair and unreasonable and maybe at points even manipulative to be phrasing things in a certain way that might be, when beyond scrutiny, it's like me who had to Google all of these statistics, which pan out to be not as obtrusive and anti-left as you say they are? Do you not think that's at the worst incompetent, and at the best incompetent, and at the worst malicious?
So you're entitled to your own opinion, not entitled to your own facts. Let's talk about the Cuban one. I reject the own Cuban government's health statistics completely and totally. I don't believe the socialist governments of Cuba's health statistics that they submit to the World Health Organization or the United Nations, because objective, independent analysis of their own health standards are nearly 20 to 30 years behind life expectancy that their own government produces. So what you're looking at is corroborated by people that want it to be true. And we can have a 30-minute discussion over whether you believe the Cuban health statistics, but the answer is, show me another statistic of anything I've talked about in the 300 hours that Candace and I have done, public speaking. Everything I talk about, everything I do is rooted in years of research and backing and data, and I'm happy to talk about each specific one. I don't want to monopolize the time here, but I reject the premise and the insinuation that somehow I'm being reckless, because facts are not reckless. In fact, it's the basis of why we're here and why what we believe.
You successfully pivoted away from the intention of my question, which wasn't the factual nature of the statements you were saying. It's the way that you phrased them.
So I phrased them effectively, and that should be a problem?
No, it's not about effectively as defined by you, as in it promotes your agenda.
You pivoted quickly away from the abortion thing.
Can I please finish my...
Happy to, yeah.
I pivoted away from the abortion thing, not because I didn't want to talk about it, but because it made me uncomfortable to do so.
Do you think do you think it's effective the way I worded it? Because maybe it made you think a way you never had to think before? The point is, I could do this for I could do that for every issue.
It's more that, so you say we shouldn't trust the Cuban health statistics because they've got an agenda to promote, and that probably makes a lot of sense. But similarly, there are people whose prime objective, as if they're still stuck in McCarthyism, is to obliterate any form of socialism and communism as an opposition to free market capitalism. And so, similarly, in the same way that we shouldn't trust the authorities in Cuba.
If the root of this is capitalism versus socialism, is there an example where socialism is really thriving and worked as a concept? This is what I don't understand. It's weird to me when people come up to this discussion and it's like, at your core, you're just defending socialism, defending Cuba, defending, what are you defending?
That's not the root of my question.
I get what you're saying is phrasing things in a way that maybe aren't fair, because you could find something on the internet that maybe supports communism and socialism. That's essentially what you're saying, right?
No, you're mischaracterizing me, actually.
Okay, how am I mischaracterizing you?
You're mischaracterizing me because you've generalized what I'm saying, which is that I've looked into talking points that Charlie's raised. I've found the exact studies that he's referenced, and know that they do because they actually mirror the things that he's said verbatim.
So they're cited. So I do use studies, is what you're saying.
I never said you didn't, Charlie.
I'm not sure where you're coming from.
That's why I'm saying I'm not mischaracterizing you. I get what you're saying. You're saying, Charlie, he's saying that you say facts, but there are also alternative facts that would maybe present socialism and communism in a better way.
saying it's unfair because of the way he's saying them, not because of.
Because from what I'm getting, you're saying that
Well,
he's
that's called a debate.
Yeah, essentially what you're saying is he's too good at presenting his argument. Because you're saying let me finish. You've just said you went and looked over the things that Charlie said. You found them to be backed by studies, which would mean they were factual. So he's not lying. He's not mischaracterizing or using wrong data. Let me finish. You've been allowed to talk for a while now. And then, but the way he presents them in an argument when you say he's galloping may maybe make his opponent afraid to talk, or I don't know what it does.
Basically,
to them. However,
to argue with himself.
The bottom line is you're saying Charlie's using facts. I don't get how that can be a disagreement. That Charlie uses facts in his arguments.
You're saying that he's not presenting other facts that would defeat his debate. Yeah. So you're basically saying he should do also the job of Charlie Kirk and whoever's debating him, which is just ludicrous. In the same time, that's essentially what you're saying, is that Charlie should say, okay, you should look at a socialist country and say Venezuela people are killing their pets to eat food, etc. However, in this situation, they had really good weather and it was sunny, etc. I don't understand how you want him as one side of the. I'm going to finish. And by the way, another good use of this time would have been if you actually had the alternate facts and just debated Charlie.
Just said yes. Instead,
while you were here, as opposed to debating the concept.
There's no point having your own
Charlie
opposition without actually giving the facts yourself to come and debate, rather than saying he uses facts too well.
Yeah. Final point, and I'll let my attorneys answer the rest of the question.
Again, you've mischaracterized what I'm truly saying here, which is that you're not trying to genuinely convince people. You seem to be, from the presentation of the facts that I've given you as an example, phrasing truths in a very specific way and choosing to ignore things that present it in a more balanced way to basically trick people, right? That's no. Please let me finish. Can I finish? Please let me finish.
They argue their opinion.
Look, fact. No, seriously. Hear me out, man.
Facts are unfair.
Facts, right? Facts don't care about your feelings, right? Facts are objective statehoods, right? But the way that you choose to present them, right? It's like saying if a statistic is 68%, you can't just rearrange the 68 to say 86, right? Hear me out, because that is just lying.
You could rearrange it to say 32, no? You could rearrange it to say 32, the other way around. Those are both factual things. If you say 68%...
Do I need the mic? I can hear me. Oh, sure. The way that you're choosing to... the way that you're choosing to talk about statistics, the things that you're choosing to neglect that present things in a more balanced way, indicates that your objective here isn't to convince people based on the whole truth, but in fact to play off of people's inability to quickly respond by asking for sources. Like if you provided a source sheet, I'm struggling to articulate this, but it's just, with the example I gave you about the Democrat cities, right? That's a pretty condemning statistic that the worst cities, to summarize, are mostly Democratic.
Yeah,
but you didn't present the whole statistic, and that was a very purposeful choice. If you look up that study,
Charlie's not going to debate himself. This is very confusing
it's not
to
a game,
me.
Candace, is it?
But you just said when he goes on campuses and he debates with people that he's not presenting facts that would try to destroy the fact that he just gave. That's the concept of a debate.
Facts, Candace. I don't see what you're not understanding here.
That's what it's called, a debate.
Because it's not about the point of a debate. If you care about humanity, if you care about improving people's welfare, should be to present objective facts based on independent studies and decide which is what Charlie does, but choosing to neglect the entirety of the factual statement.
Okay, I think this is now turning into like a Yelp review of Charlie Kirk, and I'm not really getting
because
the point
he's an influential man, and his practices and everyone's practices need to be scrutinized, and yours are semantically.
I wish you actually I wish you actually would just debate Charlie. That would, I think, would be more productive for everybody here.
I do appreciate you coming up and saying this. I will issue a challenge to the world. Anyone can come prepared with any hundreds of pages of documents to debate me, and I wish them well. Thank you.
Hello. God bless all of you for coming here from all over the world to honor and celebrate my Charlie. Just a few miles from here, 2 years ago at America Fest 2023, Charlie delivered a speech on stage for our TPUSA Faith event. Charlie loves speaking off the cuff. He's very good at that, without a script. So I personally didn't know what he was going to say. And what he chose to speak about that day was his submission to the will of God. He quoted one of his favorite Bible verses, Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. "Here I am, Lord. Send me." After Charlie finished, I met him backstage, and I spoke to him, and I'll never forget this. I said, "Charlie, baby, please talk to me next time before you say that statement." Because when you say something like that, there is so much power in that verse. When you say, "Here I am, Lord, use me," God will take you up on that. And he did with Charlie. "11 days ago, God accepted that total surrender from my husband and then called him to his side. More than anything, Charlie wanted to do not his will, but God's will. And over these past 11 days, through all the pain, never before have I found as much comfort as I now do in the words of our Lord's Prayer, 'Thy will be done.' God's love was revealed to me on the very day my husband was murdered. On the afternoon of September 10th, I arrived at a Utah hospital to do the unthinkable, to look directly at my husband's murdered body. I saw the wound that ended his life. I felt everything you would expect to feel. I felt shock. I felt horror, and a level of heartache that I didn't even know existed. But there was something else too. Even in death, I could see the man that I love. I saw the one single gray hair on the side of his head, which I never told him about. Now he knows. Sorry, baby, telling you now, but never told him. Didn't want to. I also saw this. I also saw on his lips the faintest smile. And that told me something important. It revealed to me a great mercy from God in this tragedy. When I saw that, it told me Charlie didn't suffer. Even the doctor told me. It was something so instant that even if Charlie had been shot in the operating room itself, nothing could have been done. There was no pain. There was no fear. No agony. One moment, Charlie was doing what he loved, arguing and debating on campus, fighting for the gospel and truth in front of a big crowd. And then he blinked. He blinked and saw his Savior in paradise. And all the heavenly mysteries were revealed to him. God's love continued to be revealed to me in the days that followed. The next day on the tarmac in Air Force Two, I confronted Usha Vance, precious woman. I held her hand and I told her, honestly, I do not know how I am going to get through this. She told me something. She said, you know when you're on an airplane with your kids and it's the last 15 minutes of the flight and things are crazy, kids are not cooperating, toys are flying everywhere and everyone's screaming. And you think to yourself, I cannot wait for this flight to land. And it's 15 minutes before you land. And she told me, you will get through these 15 minutes and the next 15 minutes after that. Usha, I don't think you realized it then, but those words were exactly what I needed to hear. But most of all, God's mercy and God's love have been revealed to me these past 10 days. After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting. We didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what my husband always prayed he would see in this country. We saw revival. This past week, we saw people open a Bible for the first time in a decade. We saw people pray for the first time since they were children. We saw people go to a church service for the first time in their entire lives. Charlie liked to journal. And I say this because he did it to remember important moments and sayings that affected him. And one of the things he wrote in his journal was this: every time you make a decision, it puts a mark on your soul. To those of you out there who just made that decision and took the first step toward a spiritual life, I say thank you and welcome. One day, I hope you look back and realize it was the most important decision of your life, because it is. All of you who are already believers, it is your job to shepherd these people. Do not take that lightly. Water the seed of their faith. Protect it and help it grow. Every day as Charlie rode into the office, he would go through his contact list. And I know there's many of you who were impacted by this. he would go through his contact list and send Bible verses for the day. He knew that faith was a habit. The more you live it, the more it grows. But know this too. The seed has only just been planted. The enemy will tempt you the most in a time like this one. God will always be there for you, but you must choose to mark your soul again and again in the direction of Christ. Pray again. Read the Bible again. Go to church next Sunday and the Sunday after that, and break free from the temptations and shackles of this world. Being a follower of Christ is not easy. It's not supposed to be. Jesus said, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. He said he would be persecuted. He said we would be persecuted. And Charlie knew that and happily carried his cross all the way to the end. And I want all of you to know, while Charlie died far too early, he was also ready to die. There was nothing he was putting off. There was nothing that was too hard or too painful, or nothing that he just felt like he didn't want to do it. He left this world without regrets. He did 100% of what he could every day. But I want you to know something. Charlie died with incomplete work, but not with unfinished business. But I will miss him. I will miss him so much because our marriage and our family were beautiful. They still are. The greatest cause in Charlie's life was trying to revive the American family. When he spoke to young people, he was always eager to tell them about God's vision for marriage and how, if they could just dare to live it out, it would enrich every part of their life in the same way that it enriched ours. And someone once asked me how Charlie and I, how we kept our marriage so strong when he was busy traveling. And our little secret, it was love notes. Every Saturday, Charlie wrote one for me, and he never missed a Saturday. And in every single one of them, he'd tell me what his highlight was for the week, how grateful he was for me and our babies. And always at the end, he would always end it with asking the most beautiful question. He'd always end it by asking, please let me know how I can better serve you as a husband. Charlie perfectly understood God's role for a Christian husband. A man who leads so that they can serve. To all the men watching around the world, accept Charlie's challenge and embrace true manhood. Be strong and courageous for your families. Love your wives and lead them. Love your children and protect them. Be the spiritual head of your home. But please be a leader worth following. Your wife is not your servant. Your wife is not your employee. Your wife is not your slave. She is your helper. You are not rivals. You are one flesh working together for the glory of God. I was Charlie's confidant. I was his vault, his closest and most trusted advisor, his best friend. I poured into him and loved him so deeply, empowered him, because his love for me drove me to be a better wife. Every day he honored me, and I prayed that I could be the wife that God needed me to be for my husband. Women, I have a challenge for you too. Be virtuous. Our strength is found in God's design for our role. We are the guardians. We are the encouragers. We are the preservers. Guard your heart. Everything you do flows from it. And if you're a mother, please recognize that is the single most important ministry you have. In our home, because Charlie traveled a lot, we tried to travel with him where we could. But I made sure that when Charlie returned from work, it was his sacred landing place, away from the worries of the world. I didn't make him feel guilty for being away too long or too much, or getting home too late. I always told him, home is here for you, and it'll be ready for you. And I made it into this place where he wanted to be as soon as possible when he was on the road. There was no keeping score between us. We were a team, working together for the same mission. I never wanted to be the one standing between Charlie and the task that God prepared for him, had set for him. And I knew Charlie would always do his best to help me with the same. My marriage with Charlie was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I know it was the best thing that ever happened to him as well. He wanted everyone to experience that joy. And that's what's so beautiful about God's design for marriage, is that everyone can. And I could talk endlessly about it, and years to come I will. But Charlie's mission above all was aimed directly at those who aren't married. He named his organization well. He knew things were not right with America, and especially with young people, and they needed a new direction. Charlie passionately wanted to reach and save the lost boys of the West. The young men who feel like they have no direction, no purpose, no faith, and no reason to live. The men wasting their lives on distractions, and the men consumed with resentment, anger, and hate. Charlie wanted to help them. He wanted them to have a home with Turning Point USA. And when he went onto campus, he was looking to show them a better path and a better life that was right there for the taking. He wanted to show them that. My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. That young man, on the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us. The world needs Turning Point USA. It needs a group that will point young people away from the path of misery and sin. It needs something that will lead people away from hell in this world and in the next. It needs young people pointed in the direction of truth and beauty. And so I promise you today, every part of our work will become greater. I am tremendously honored to be the new CEO of Turning Point USA. I do not take that lightly. Charlie and I were united in purpose. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission. Everything that Turning Point USA built through Charlie's vision and hard work, we will make 10 times greater through the power of his memory. Chapters will grow, thousands of new ones will be created. TPUSA Faith will add thousands of new pastors and congregations. And yes, campus events will continue. And we will continue to hold debates and dialogue. The First Amendment of our Constitution is the most human amendment. We are naturally talking beings, naturally believing beings. And the First Amendment protects our right to do both. No assassin will ever stop us from standing up to defend those rights, ever. Because when you stop the conversation, when you stop the dialogue, this is what happens. When we lose the ability and the willingness to communicate, we get violence. And as I stand here now, and I look at this beautiful photo of my husband in front of me, hanging in the stadium, I think of my husband 13 years ago. I hadn't met him yet. He was 18 years old, a man barely out of high school, running around the halls of the RNC without a dollar in his pocket and a single contact in his phone. People who saw him said that he didn't know what he was doing, but he did. He did know what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was going to change the world, and he did. Charlie's life was a turning point for this country. It was a miracle. Let that miracle that was Charlie's life be your turning point as well. Choose prayer. Choose courage. Choose beauty. Choose adventure. Choose family. Choose a life of faith. Most importantly, choose Christ. I love you, Charlie, baby. And I will make you proud. God bless you all, and God bless America. Hello. God bless all of you for coming here from all over the world to honor and celebrate my Charlie. Just a few miles from here, 2 years ago.
Get in Ann Arbor. Much bigger crowd. We don't like them over here, right? We don't like them. Great to be here, guys. Oh, actually, is the question line both sides? On this side, okay. Over there. Thank you, guys. We'll be here for a little bit, and thanks for being here, guys. You bet.
Hi, what's up, Charlie? My name is Roderick. And so for over 10 plus years, I identified as a gay man, and then I gave my life to Jesus and left the LGBTQ plus community. And my question to you is, what is your response to those who say that conservatives and God hates everyone in the LGBTQ plus community?
Well, I think it'd actually be better for you to respond to that because you've received it and you're no longer of that. Here's the true but more provocative answer. That your identity should not be in your sexual proclivity. It should actually be, your identity is much greater than just what you do in the bedroom. Being gay is a behavior more than anything else. And you, I guess, are evidence, and I'd love to hear your story, that you could stop acting on that behavior. So tell the audience more about, you would identify as gay and as not. Tell us about that path and that journey, because I'm told that can never happen.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people tell me that you are what you feel. You are your attractions. You know, you're quote unquote born with it. You know, there's just many reasons why you have same-sex attraction that will never leave you, and that is who you will always be. And I believe that lie for almost 10 plus years of my life. I slept with men many times, watched a lot of porn, dwelt in a lot of sexual sin, and just gave my body up because that's what I thought love was. And that's what I thought it looked like until I met Jesus. And he helped me to see that I was never meant to identify as a gay man, but I was always meant to be a son of his and have a new identity and a new life in him. And I walked away from that lifestyle for over 5+ years now, and I have never looked back because Jesus is way better than the sexuality that I was partaking in.
Praise God. Are you